Welcome to the San Francisco Public Library Commission meeting for June 20th, 2024. The time is 4:30. I'm Margot Schaub, and I serve as the Library Commission Affairs Analyst. This meeting is being held in person in the main library Crête Auditorium, and members of the public can observe the meeting using Zoom by following the link in the library's event calendar or by calling 1-877-853-5247 and entering Zoom ID number 819-5128-3287. Members of the public who are attending the meeting in person may provide public comment for up to 3 minutes for each item on the agenda. Library commissioners in attendance are Vice President Pete Wong, Commissioners Ono, Mall, Lomax, Giraduzzi, Lopez, and Bolander.
Thank you very much. Hello and welcome to the June 20th, 2024 meeting of the San Francisco Public Library Commission. We are pleased to welcome those here with us in the Crête Auditorium and our virtual audience over Zoom. We have a full meeting ahead, and we will start today with the Ramaytush Ohlone land acknowledgement. The area now known as San Francisco is the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the original peoples of this land, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place. We recognize that we benefit from living, working, and learning on their traditional homeland. As uninvited guests, we affirm their sovereign rights as First Peoples and wish to pay our respects to the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community. All the materials for this meeting are available on the Library Commission webpage or in the back of the Crête Auditorium. Today we have a total of 5 agenda items. We begin today with item number 1, which is general public comment. At this time, members of the public attending in the Crête may address the Commission on items of interest to the public that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Commission. The public has the opportunity to address the Commission on today's agenda items when that item is called. General public comment is now open.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California 94117-0544. This week, our National Surgeon General Vivek Murthy put out an op-ed piece in the New York Times, which was very widely discussed and reported. And in it, he said that it was an emergency, that even if imperfect action was taken, it needed to be taken with respect to social media, which needed to have warning labels on social media. And he went on at great length with respect to what the problems were, addiction, a whole range of problems that I highly recommend you read in the New York Times editorial page. Those are many of the things that I've been quoting to you from him himself, and the bad effects have been noted by many other people as matters of serious concern that need to have some kind of an action taken, including regulatory action. That's something that the library doesn't seem to want to discuss when anything comes up with respect to computers or the computer offerings. In fact, you've heard me say, and the point that I make is, you are continually, essentially acting as recruiters to social media and to tech. You shouldn't be doing that in an uncritical way without any kind of explanation or warning or anything for the public, especially the younger public that you serve. I haven't said to take out the computers. I haven't said to restrict access to certain sites, but I have said you need to consider the downsides, the serious downsides, including threats to democracy, and not have constant sales pitches that essentially the logos represent when you put them on your publicity, when you put them on your At the Library monthly newsletter, and when you have boxes, get social exclamation point. It's the only exclamation point that I see on the At the Library. Nothing else is that enthusiastically encouraged. And what is it? Social media. Frances Haugen, more than 2.5 years ago, testified Facebook is toxic. She said basically Facebook prioritizes profits over safety, and she's talking safety of the public using it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further public comment from the attendees here in the Koret?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Kate Lazarus. I'm on the board of the Friends of the Public Library. Wanted to provide an update and thank you all for your service. I grew up in San Francisco. I'm now taking my 3-year-old and 5-year-old to the Richmond branch. We're excited to get Summer Stride going in our household, so we're enthusiastic library users. In terms of the latest with Friends, been busy. On May 22nd, our annual grant of $1,080,375 to the library went to the Board of Supervisors. On June 4th, it was adopted by the board, and on June 13th, it was approved by the mayor. So we're very grateful for our ongoing role in supporting everything that the library has to offer and for the generosity of all of our donors that make so much of the programming possible. To give a few examples of what we're supporting, Summer Stride that I just mentioned, the MIX program, many author talks, ESI classes, the strategic planning process that you all have put so much work into, racial equity plan, career programming, the History Center, and lots more. It's also the end of our fiscal year coming up at the end of June, so we're engaged in our final push to bring in as much support as we can for the library for the years to come. So thank you again for your service. I'm pleased to be here.
Thank you very much. Further public comment?
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to make public comment. My name is Matt Keniston. In addition to being an active user of the San Francisco Public Library, I have had the privilege of serving as the Finance Committee Chair and Treasurer of the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library for the last 3 years. As I prepared to term off the Friends Board, I thought I would share some parting thoughts with the Library Commission and the public. The San Francisco Public Library is amazing, and the staff are the heart of our library. In the past 3 months, my 16-year-old daughter used the resources available at the Mix to run a successful campaign for executive position at her school's student government. I visited the 5th floor page window for the first time. My 12-year-old daughter read dozens of hard copy graphic novels, and my wife and daughter used a complimentary community pass to visit Claude, the albino alligator, at the California Academy of Sciences. Meanwhile, at Friends, we enthusiastically welcomed Emily Garvey as our new executive director, fine-tuned fundraising materials for the Mission and Chinatown branch campaigns, received a significant and generous bequest, and have begun the exciting work of a refreshed strategic plan that I expect will leverage the San Francisco Public Library's recently completed plan, and that I personally hope will emphasize new and current signature programs like Summer Stride that will be presented later in today's agenda. I believe the future is bright. I think the future is bright for Friends and for our collaborative relationship with the library and this commission. I want to formally appreciate you, commissioners, for your service and your commitment. And I want to appreciate City Librarian Michael Lambert and his staff, his team, for their work on behalf of all San Franciscans. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comment?
Hello, Commissioners. Friends again. My name is Carson Kapoor, and I'm the Communications Friends. I've been with the company since April 2022, and I'm super excited to be here tonight, so thanks for having us. Personally, my favorite thing about the library is being immersed in the stacks and around like-minded people who are dedicated to lifelong learning. I want to talk briefly about our very exciting book sale block party that happened this year on June 1st, just a few weeks ago. Thousands of people were in attendance, and we actually broke our sales record from last year. The SFPL bookmobile was there and did library card signups and some children's programming with Summer Stride author Cindy Santamaria. We had a large programming block this year with over 3 different cohorts. Each were an hour long, and it was an amazing turnout in the park side next door. We heard from current Brown Handler residents, former residents, and a lovely group of community readers. It was a huge success. I was working on this project for months with our team, and I just want to say thank you for your excitement and involvement in this. Thank you to the community for showing your support to Friends and the library. We are so excited to see this annual tradition grow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Further public comment here in the CRET? Seeing that there's none, general public comment is now closed. So we'll turn to item number 2, which is discussion and possible action to approve the May Commission meeting minutes. So first, we'll open public comment before our Commission discussion on this item. And as a reminder, please limit your public comment to this specific agenda item. Public comment is now open in the CRET for item number 2.
Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California 94117-0544. The minutes, unfortunately, as usual, presume to summarize public comment, which is what they're supposed to do, but more typically drain out key elements that were the point. And in every instance except the first one, you've left out the identifying information that I provide every time these days. Executive Director, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California 94117-0544. I say those for a reason. I don't think it's up to you to edit what you think isn't important or that you don't want other people to know. With respect to the first comment on general public comment, I don't think that I just said social media is toxic, although I certainly may have said that, but the key is that Frances Haugen in particular, who worked at Facebook and became what others call a whistleblower, she testified at the Senate. She's actually now got a book out. Facebook is prioritizing profits over safety, and she's referring to the safety of the users. That's what I've said. And when I talk about the library is constantly touting social media, and it shouldn't. That's the point. It's not that I think what a great idea it is to tout social media. I'm saying you shouldn't be uncritically touting social media all the time. And one example is the Get Social exclamation boxes that appear typically at least twice in your monthly at the library publication. With respect to the American Heritage comments, I said that the remote meetings leave out the most vulnerable, disproportionately exclude the most vulnerable populations, and that's also true of your publicity, which excludes those populations from knowing what's going on. Those are the main points. I think they're important if you want to get the sense of what I'm talking about here. And without doing that, without making changes that reflect my requests, you're basically censoring what I've said to make it invisible to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comment on item number 2? Seeing that there's none, public comment is now closed, and we move to the Commission discussion and action on item number 2. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the May Commission meeting?
I move that we approve the minutes as stated.
I second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Lomax-Giardizzi and a second from Commissioner Mall to approve the minutes.
And I'll take the roll call. Commissioners, please say aye or no when I call your name. Vice President Wong.
Aye.
Commissioner Ono.
Aye.
Commissioner Mall.
Aye.
Commissioner Lomax-Giraduzzi.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Commissioner Bolander.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. We now turn to item number 3, which is the discussion on the Racial Equity Action Plan Progress Report. And I turn the meeting over now to City Librarian Michael Lambert.
Thank you, Vice President Huang, and good evening, Library Commissioners, Library staff. Appreciate this opportunity to share out a progress report and update on our Racial Equity Action Plan. You may recall the City and County of San Francisco passed legislation in 2019 that formed the Office of Racial Equity and required every department of municipal government to develop a Racial Equity Action Plan in 2020. Since the inception of the REAP, as we refer to it, the library has been responsive in adhering to the legal requirements of this ordinance. We've made some great strides the past few years in our efforts to foster an affirming work environment for our diverse staff and in our approach to service delivery employing a racial equity lens. Naomi Jelks, our Racial Equity Manager for Public Services, is here this evening to share out our latest progress report, and she's joined by Library Human Resources Senior DEI Analyst Maria Mastro-Kyriakos. Naomi and Maria.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Maria Mastro-Kyriakos, and I am a Senior Human Resources Analyst focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I will be co-presenting with Naomi Jelks, our Racial Equity Manager. And it's a pleasure to speak with all of you today regarding the library's Racial Equity Action Plan Progress Report. For the last 3 years, the Office of Racial Equity has required city departments to submit an annual progress report highlighting their accomplishments and progress in relation to their department's Racial Equity Action Plan. As part of the annual progress report, the Office of Racial Equity asks each department to provide up to 3 racial equity practices that we have learned or implemented in the last fiscal year. In this presentation, Naomi and I will spotlight our accomplishments over the last fiscal year in these 3 areas of the library's Racial Equity Action Plan. Section 1, hiring and recruitment. Section 4, diverse and equitable leadership. And Section 6, organizational culture of inclusion and belonging. One of our accomplishments in our REAP's hiring and recruitment section is the establishment of the Partnerships, Outlets, and Pipeline Work Group. This work group aims to diversify our workforce by increasing the diversity of our applicant pool and is comprised of library subject matter experts, racial equity committee members, and human resources professionals. The main goals of this group are to first identify recruitment outlets and outreach opportunities. Second, recommend actions to develop and leverage partnerships, both new and existing. And lastly, develop pipelines to library careers. This group will focus on the 3600 series initially. The working group is currently convening and discussing recommendations. And Library Human Resources will review the group's recommendations and develop any action plans. The library strives to foster an inclusive environment where all can thrive. And as part of this commitment, Library Human Resources and the Racial Equity Committee collaborated to develop a new requirement for each employee to complete at least 1 learning activity each year related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this is included in the annual performance plan and appraisal report, otherwise known as the PPAR. The library senior management team approved this, and the goal is now included in the annual PPAR form. These learning activities encourage and incorporate professional development opportunities that promote self-awareness, reflection, growth, allyship, advocacy, and creating an inclusive working environment. Examples of a learning activity may include, but are not limited to, participating in a course or a training, reading books or articles, listening to a podcast series, or participating in an affinity group. The library also promotes various diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings that are available through the city's Department of Human Resources Workforce Development Division, and you can see some of those examples here on the slide. This goal reinforces our commitment to ensure we have a work environment that embodies diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. It also aligns with our new core values. So at this time, Naomi will share our accomplishments in the establishment and growth of the library's affinity groups. Thank you.
Thanks, Maria. So in support of an organizational culture of inclusion and belonging, we've taken some what I consider major steps in forming and sustaining 3 affinity groups here at the library. We have the BIPOC affinity group, the Black affinity group, and the LGBT plus affinity group. And these groupings really work to establish safe spaces for staff to discuss issues of race, identity, oppression, and ideas for change. And what we found in our organization, but also throughout the city, is that various departments have created these affinity groups, and in feeling better supported in the workplace, that then helps transfer to feeling better about the workspace that they're working in and accomplishing whatever their goals are from year to year. So I love the fact that we have 3. We're bringing on a Latinx affinity manager, and so there's opportunity to grow that as well. And so where that leaves us is really in a perfect space to really dive into our upcoming fiscal year and years to come, and really growing our strategic plan, layering the REAP throughout the strategic plan. I think that I've been really proud to be involved in the REAP work that we've done here at the library, but also my role within the city as a whole. Because equity work isn't kind of like a one and done, it's iterative. So every year we have new opportunities to grow ideas, to deepen our work, and also deepen our relationship with the community. So as I've been involved with the development of the strategic plan, I've always really tried to ensure that we carry through racial equity through everything that we're doing. So in terms of our vision, mission, and values, and then the strategic priorities that came out of this process, I'm really excited about the future for the library. I think some of the guiding principles myself and the team really tried to carry forward in this work is really centering communities and ensuring that everything we do kind of puts the community at the center. Through this process, we've had extensive conversations with focus groups with various folks from the community. And it's good to have that communication loop to hear back, like, hey, are we, in whatever we're envisioning for the library, how does that relate to the community and their expectations of us? We really tried to bring forth our own aspirations for our library system. We've got staff who've been here 30, 40 years. Library has changed a great deal since they've begun, but we always try to pull forward those innovative ideas of how we need to stand up this organization. And, part of that as well is really taking a bold approach. Like when you have a new strategic plan, it gives you an opportunity to kind of live those dreams, to kind of think a little bit bolder, and feel comfortable in doing that. It's kind of like a fresh start in a lot of ways, although we will still pull forward many of our core services that public libraries are known for, but I think it's also an opportunity to refresh certain things at the same time. So I wanted to share a little bit with you about some of our staffing, some of the great things that we have in place currently and how it will serve us moving forward with implementation of our strategic plan. So right here is a slide that really looks at the number of total public-facing staff, if you look on my left, at 714, and then we have 242 bilingual certified staff. That's about a third of our public-facing staff are paid a premium because they speak a foreign language. So they speak one of the languages on the far right. And if you look at the center bar graph, it really breaks down the language skills by location. So most of them are here at Maine, but we also have nice representation throughout our various branches. So what that does for us is in the now and moving forward, it gives us the ability to meet patrons where they're at. Part of the strategic planning process, what we've heard from community, is a desire to have more people with not only with the language competencies, but also the cultural competency to serve them. And it's my belief that having a diverse work staff who do speak different languages, it makes it easier for us to engage with community and do the important work that they expect of us and the work that we want to hold ourselves accountable to. So moving forward, I think we're in an awesome spot, and it's a really exciting time to be here at SFPL. The plan is to leverage the language skills of the staff that we have and continue through recruitment processes to hire more diverse staff who speak multiple languages, if possible, to really grow and the work that we're doing with our affinity groups, affinity centers. The affinity centers live on the 3rd and 4th floors of the Main, and I've really been working with them extensively this fiscal year to ensure that they have the supports they need so moving forward they can have more of a citywide purview, because again, what we've heard back from community is wanting some of the fabulous work that goes on here at Maine to have that same level of exciting programming and partnerships out in the branches. Now, we do have exciting partnerships in the branches, but I'm thinking specifically some of the programming and some of the exhibitions that we host here. So really helping the affinity centers to hold hands with our branch staff who are already doing fantastic work in this regard. We're also going to continue in supporting citywide initiatives such as the San Francisco Fellows Program. And since I've been in this role for about 2 years, each year I've had a San Francisco Fellow. My first one is Hernan Acevedo. He's currently working as the racial equity analyst for me, directly doing a variety of work to support the Racial Equity Action Plan and committee work. My current fellow is Walter Jones, and he is also fantastic and has really helped with projects, ranging from the newsletter that the Racial Equity Committee has to social media campaigns or shorts for the public that the public has responded positively to. And one of the things I really like about this initiative, at least for the work that I carry forward in the organization, it gives me the opportunity to mentor young people who are interested not only in the library, but potentially careers with the city. And it's really been a pleasure to have these young people, because one of the first things one of them said, and I won't tell you which one, is like, he's like, you librarians have a certain way about you. And I was just like, what do you mean by that? And he's like, I wouldn't call you Luddites, but you kind of carry forward some old technology and old ways of doing things. I'm like, dang, I'm only 52, right? But, point taken, like, when you have these bright young people who go to some of our best colleges locally, it's really great to have the opportunity to fold in some of the best of what they know and what they know how to do, to have it inform the work that we do here at the library and for the city as a whole. So I love mentoring, so I've loved my fellows. They're great. And lastly, as you all are aware, the summertime HBCU cohort through Opportunities for All. There are about 60 students coming from HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, who will be working this summer for 6 weeks through different departments in the city. So the library is one of those departments that has gotten a handful of fellows. It's very competitive to get those fellows. And so we're excited for the opportunity to not only support this initiative of the mayor, but again, to provide the opportunity for us to mentor young people who are really the future of this great nation. right? So I think that is all I have to report out on. I want to thank you all again for all of your continued support and encouragement in this work, and I look forward to the next phase and coming before you and talking more about the strategic plan and the work that we continue to do.
Thank you, Maria and Naomi, for your leadership.
Thank you very much, Maria and Naomi, for the wonderful report. Before we do commission discussion, we're going to open up public comment on this item. And as a reminder, please do limit your public comment to this specific agenda item. Public comment on item number 3 is now open in the Correct.
Thank you. My name is Ruben. I am a union officer, your COPE delegate, Committee of Political Education. Great to be here this evening. So enjoyed the presentation, Maria. So we are very excited from the labor side because we had our contract ratified by the membership at the end of May. So very excited about that. And we're very excited to be working for the new cycle that involves our new contract that begins July 1st. So we're very excited about that. So my question is in regards to, Maria, your presentation, and maybe you all can just respond. I heard that they're going to increase our applicant pool for the 3600 series. A lot of us started as pages once upon a time. And my question is, the group is convening now and reviewing the action plan. Who is doing these meetings and what does this look like is, I guess, what I'm getting at. Part of the thing we want in our contract negotiations is that as part of the contract is for our page class that we won a committee for that would focus on promotive options going forward. So I don't know if this is dovetailing with that or something separate as far as increasing the applicant pool and under the REAP process. So that was a question that I was just wondering. I was sitting in the back, but thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further public comment on item number 3?
Yes, Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. Thank you very much for the report. And there's nothing that I have specific, any kind of objection to. I think it's good that the library is working on these matters and on these goals. But I do have some questions about specificity. Normally, when you're trying to accomplish a goal, you have some baseline numbers. So when you say you want to improve or increase something or another, you typically say this is what we have currently, and this is how we know what we have currently, and this is our goal. And you put specific numbers on each as best you can. With respect to goals, you also say maybe I don't expect to change things overnight, but this is the timeline. So we're going to do this much of an improvement we expect to do by such and so on and so forth. Or we're going to have certain guideposts to accomplishing, for example, some of the products that were mentioned, which I wish we would see, like a newsletter or something like that. I did have a question about the definition of language certification, bilingual certification. I wonder how much of that improvement might be just a matter of officially certifying people who don't have some piece of paper or haven't taken some kind of a test, whatever the certification involves, versus having more people who speak and understand those languages either by learning them or improving their skills or freshly coming in. Seems to me those are quite different efforts in terms of improving certification. You might, for all you know, for all I know, you might have people who are just ready and waiting to be certified who already have the skills. So that's one question. And in particular, I think it would be great to have the question about what does bilingual certification mean? How do you get it? And what kind of goals do you have overall is certainly what I would have a question about specifics on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Further public comment here in the Koret? Seeing that there's none, public comment is now closed, and we will now move to the commission discussion on item number 3. Would any commissioners like to make a comment? Commissioner Mall.
Thank you for your good work in this area. I had questions about the staff being paid a premium for another language. Could you elaborate on that a little?
Sure. We have our labor partners in the audience who you heard from earlier, and they have bargained very well for their members to receive a bilingual pay premium in their MOU. And used to be $40. I think it's been raised to $60.
A week, a month, what?
Is that a pay period, Ruben?
Every 2 weeks?
Yeah, every 2 weeks. And so that acknowledges that they use their cultural competency and their language to better serve our public.
So this is relatively new?
It's been around for a while, but it has increased in recent years. And we have been working with our labor partners to avail this pay premium as far and wide as we can. Previously, the library really focused on having special conditions attached to certain positions. And in recent years, and working with our labor partners, we have really moved beyond that and acknowledged that all of our public services staff who have this language ability, they use it on an ongoing basis, whether there's a language requisition attached to their position or not. So we have been able to avail that more widely to the workforce.
Is that true in the city totally?
Yes. So SEIU represents more than just the library
Right.
workers. So that pay premium is available for workers in other departments of city government.
That's interesting. So these numbers here, like 117, that means 117 people on the library staff can also speak Cantonese. I'm assuming they also speak English, correct? Both?
That's correct. Yes.
Yes. It's not just one language, it's 2 languages.
That means 117 staff are currently getting that pay premium. There could be more staff that speak Cantonese. And if there are, we hope they will soon take advantage of this pay premium.
So, for example, 3 people, ASL is sign language? So
That's
throughout the
correct.
whole system, only 3 people can do that?
That's correct, that we know of. We do have a deaf services center, and
It's here, isn't it?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And Naomi has graciously stepped up in the past year to assume oversight of our access services, division or unit, which includes the deaf services center. I don't know if you have anything you want to add to the ASL.
I mean, I think that's correct. I think what this captures are staff who are paid the premium. So there may be other staff on site who can ASL, but part of being certified is there's a test, right? So it's like I speak conversational Spanish theoretically, but I'm not going to be able to pass the test to get bilingual certification.
I see.
So yeah, there are probably a handful of other staff who ASL, maybe not proficiently, to get the certified pay for it, but they do ASL.
So is the staff delegated to different libraries based on their language skills? Or is this just happenstance that at a certain library, X amount of people can speak Russian, say?
Both. So we have identified certain locations like the Mission or Chinatown or even Richmond where we have positions with a specific language requisition, whether it's Cantonese or Spanish or Mandarin.
Russian,
But what we have recognized over the years is that we have other staff additionally, whether they're librarians or non-librarians, at all of our library locations. And, they use these skills in the Excelsior or, all across the city, in the Sunset, in the Bayview. So this really is a great snapshot just to let you know how far and wide our diverse staff are leveraging their language ability.
Thank you. I might have another question, but
We can come back to it. Commissioner Bolander.
Thanks so much for the report. I'm just curious how we're doing compared to other city departments, and also when we talked about on the briefing, how HR is involved with understanding the talent pipeline and the input to the system, which is always one of the most important things to understand as we try to meet these goals. So any thoughts on that? Any comparisons about how we're doing?
Sure. I know Commissioner Ono loves to hear that we're number one, so I'll say we're number one.
Good to hear.
What I will say is this. I think that one of the advantages of being in our department is that we have dedicated staff who, like myself, whose job it is to implement the REAP and now the strategic plan. I have a racial equity committee that has helped with those efforts. Other departments are set up in ways that work for them and that they have capacity for. I think we have a little bit more capacity in that regard. I think where we're kind of in a similar situation as other departments is other departments also have affinity groups. So I think we're kind of on the same page with that. What their affinities groups do differs based upon what department it is. I know, for example, Muni has a rather large subset of, affinity groups, and they've been doing really good work as well. Some departments are very small, so they don't have the ability to kind of form these work groups to advance the racial equity work in the same ways that we have. So I think one of the ongoing challenges for all of us is just sustaining the work, all of us finding time, and we do find time across the city to meet and talk about our accomplishments, the things that we still want to achieve, things we need support for on. So I think in that sense, we're all kind of in the same boat. But one of the things that I really appreciate about the work that we've been able to carry forward is that we're technically in phase 1 of the REAP, but we've been at 1.5, almost at 2 for a minute. And I don't think other departments are really in that space. But, what I try to do when I'm in those citywide convenings is share some of our best practices so that, we're all a brain trust for each other in trying for each of these departments to grow the equity work in ways that make sense and innovative ways that we've been able to leverage our resources, including the generous resources provided by the Friends of San Francisco Public Library, to move this work forward.
Yeah, thank you. And about the HR question, I know the city Department of HR is working on dashboards and numbers to sort of figure out like the entire holistic view of this, like how many people are applying to positions, how often they're getting to interviews, et cetera. I'm just curious how this fits into that, because obviously the input into our process is really important, and I'm just curious how we're working with that.
Well, as soon as that's developed, we're going to be all over it.
Okay, great.
Currently, it's still in development. When I do my convenings of other racial equity leaders, they report out on progress.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have that tool yet. We all hope to get to that point because it would help departments tremendously.
Yeah, okay.
I will add, though, and Maureen, feel free to chime in, our library HR team, they just hired a new analyst. So we do have some analytical horsepower internally now. So I know our library human resources director is thinking about what can we track on our end and better understand the demographics of people coming through the recruitment process that is within our control. And then, leveraging that data when the city's data sets become more available.
Okay, yeah, because as an example, this data set's extremely fascinating, and I'm just curious if we've looked at, patron percentages, and, do we actually have enough Russian speakers, as an example? Do we need to recruit more ASL or Vietnamese speakers or Filipino speakers because of who we have to serve? And this is a really interesting proxy for kind of how to staff, or at least, show up to where people are at so they feel comfortable. And so, yeah, this is really good. Really good. Thank you.
Commissioner Lopez.
Thank you. Thank you, Naomi and Maria. I'm excited to hear that there's going to be more affinity groups coming up. I do have a question, but I also have a comment for Commissioner Mall. One of my first jobs out of college was to be a proctor for the city to test. So their certification is not given by the library; it's done at the city, at City Hall, and it's not easy. So they have to have high levels of comprehension as well as written abilities. So. And I used to be a proctor for the San Francisco Police Department. So I had to fail a lot of people because there's a level of skills that they need to have, and it's not just like conversational.
So my high school French wouldn't have passed.
So yeah, it is a process, and my understanding, I mean, it's been a while, but my understanding is that once they pass and get certified, then it's less of taxation on the person who speaks another language. They get compensated. And I can tell you that sometimes being the only Spanish speaker in a room, I'm like, can you do this? Can you do that? And it takes a toll, too, because it takes you away from other tasks. So I just wanted to say that, because that I know how it works. I'm glad that I was never stopped by a cop that I didn't pass. But side note, I do have a question about the affinity groups. So you said that there's the African American, the BIPOC, the African American, and the LGBTQ. So, for their time, do they have a committee? Do they have a group? When do they meet? Does it represent all the branches, or how does it work? Can you elaborate a little bit about that?
So the affinity groups is a subgroup of the Racial Equity Committee. So myself, Ernan, and a collection of folks who are on the Racial Equity Committee, we've reached out to staff as a whole to see if they would be interested in forming a subgroup to do the work of these affinity groups. So for the Hormel, the LGBT plus one, Christina Mitra and her librarian one are the kind of the foundation. They put the call out for their monthly or bi-monthly meetings. They're about 50 to 60 minutes, and those folks who identify opt in to go to those meetings. That's during paid time for staff. And it's pretty.
Excuse me, what'd you say?
So staff are paid to attend the affinity groups. So during work hours, because that's what we've decided upon. And so the African American affinity group is led by Shauna Sherman. She oversees the African American Center. My fellow Walter Jones helps to put the call out and make sure that they have a prompt. Each of the affinity groups, when they have their meeting, when they convene their meeting, there's a prompt, something for folks to think about and, kind of have a jump-off point for what they're going to discuss at the meeting. We found that based upon feedback of staff, they really appreciate that because it helps to utilize the time in a way that's constructive for all. And it's kind of a similar thing for African American, Hormel, and the BIPOC affinity group. So the BIPOC affinity group is more of a catch-all for staff who might be multi-racial, and so it'll be interesting once we have the Latinx affinity, the Latinx program manager to see, how that shifts based upon having someone who's focused more on Latinx staff and community.
Thank you.
Pete?
Commissioner Lomax-Garrett, see first,
Sorry.
and we'll come back here. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't see her hand.
Thank you both, to both Naomi. So good to see you, as well as Maria. Welcome. So I have a question about the capacity building, which I really like, because I'm an educator and I know that this is how people grow and change. Tell me a little bit about how the Library Human Resources and the Racial Equity Committee, you've worked together to develop a requirement for each employee to complete the DEI learning opportunity. And you have at least three areas, classic areas: cross-cultural communications, managing implicit bias and conscious bias, and workplace bullying. How does that kind of work? Just a little bit. I'm interested in just how it's working. How is it offered, and then how many people are participating or taking you up on these offers?
I think Maria is going to field this question.
Thank you for the question. The classes that you just spoke about right now, these are offerings from the city's Department of Human Resources. Okay. So we promote these opportunities within our staff. We've also, listened to them. We've looked at survey results that say, we want more of this type of training, that type of training. Mm-hmm. So we have worked with other organizations to look at trainings regarding mental health, for example. Mm-hmm. So this is how we collectively put information together. We do have an internal website that does list various opportunities as well. There's one page specific for DEI classes. Mm-hmm. So we do highly encourage, again, folks to look into this internal website. We also share it via email as well and in our newsletters.
And so part of a quick follow-up then, this is part of their performance evaluation process. Is that what I'm reading?
Yes, we felt that it was extremely important, and we wanted to, again, encourage folks to find ways that they can learn in a method that suits them. For some folks, it may be in a training. I mean, I'm a trainer by heart, so put me in a classroom all day, I'm happy. There are other folks that may prefer listening to a podcast. Other folks who, again, want to read an article. So we have various methods available that best fits that person at a pace that best fits that person.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mall.
I'm sorry, I might have missed it. How often do the affinity groups meet?
The affinity groups meet, BIPOC affinity group meets monthly. The LGBT plus and the African American affinity group meet every other month.
And
every 2 months.
And they meet in a central place? I didn't get
online.
That. Oh, it's online. Mm-hmm. Oh.
And what we have found is that there's a higher level of engagement online because, for example, although all the leads for the affinity group work here at Maine, you've got staff in ANZA who want to partake in the affinity groups and be in community with folks. They're not going to be able to do that within a reasonable amount of time. And so they've worked out a cadence and a format where, again, you have the prompt, something for folks to think about before they come to the affinity group meeting, and that helps guide the conversations, because before that, it was kind of open, and we found that that wasn't the best format for the folks who were attending, but to have like a guiding question was a lot better way to structure those meetings, and to have it online is probably the best option for us because we're throughout, we have staff throughout the entire city. And so I don't think I've gotten any feedback from folks who would prefer to meet online because it's an hour meeting. And the cadence of those meetings work for them. So I think one of the things about online meetings, which I always find amazing because I'm an in-person type of gal, is that if you do it well, it can really work, And I feel that they've figured out how to do it well, breakout rooms, icebreakers, staff who are trained as facilitators. I think that's an important part of any type of meeting, but affinity groups in particular. I think that, staff have responded really positively.
I'm sort of asking these questions because it's sort of new to me, and maybe it's new to a lot of people, the whole subject and movement right now. But, what happens actually in the meeting? What do people talk about?
So, for example, let's see, a guiding question might be, I don't know. I can't even come off the top of my head to think of a guiding question. So the facilitator would welcome people into the space. Sometimes you might have an icebreaker, something to
Get to know you.
to get to know one another, and then they would allocate, let's say, 35, 40 minutes for the guided question. And the facilitator would present the question, ask anyone, hey, do you have any thoughts on this? They might talk about the guiding question. They might connect it back to the wider world they live in, work-specific instances. It's a lot of work-related conversations, but not solely. It really depends on the question. And I think one question that comes to mind for me for the Black Affinity Group is, how do you find joy in the work that you do for the library? Something to that effect. That was the guiding question. And so, with any type of question, it can go a variety of places, but it's up to the facilitator and the people who are participating to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to speak who likes to speak, and that you're kind of staying on topic as much as possible.
So I understand that, but so it could be the same question, how do you find joy? In all the affinity groups. It's not specific to each.
No, I think every affinity group comes up with their own question, something that's relevant to the folks who are attending the affinity groups. So what's relevant for the Black affinity group may or may not be relevant to what the LGBT plus group wants to talk about, although there is intersection, right? But many of the themes that come up in the LGBT plus group is really focused on that. And then there's also gender issues that are layered on top of that. So I think that's how that plays out.
And they've also had required reading at times. There might be an article that stimulates a dialogue.
Or a book.
Yep.
They'll read a book and come back and discuss various themes or topics. Or there's been at least one affinity group where there was, folks attended something in the community, like a Kwanzaa event or what have you, and then that stimulated conversation in the group. So, I think we try to keep it structured, and it's going to be different for each grouping.
So is this citywide now?
Every department has, not every department, every city department is empowered to develop an affinity group, but that's something you opt into. So if I'm at Rec and Park, if the folks who work over there don't want to have an affinity group for whatever set of reasons, they don't have to. But we, I think collectively, as a city, the Office of Racial Equity has found that affinity groups are very supportive of staff. When it comes to staff wellness, that's something that we all want to be mindful of, and creating workspaces that are affirming and places that people actually want to be and, can do the work that they've been hired to do.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ono.
Hi, Maria and Naomi. I know you're being modest, Naomi. I know we're number one, so there's no problem about that. But I just want to say that I'm very impressed with everything that we have done so far with our racial equity practices, and especially what we've done, 23, 24, but also going forward, what you have planned, including our new strategic plan. So I know you guys are doing a lot of work. I know you guys are really busy, but I really appreciate everything that's being done. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Ono. I did want to give a shout out to my staff. Really, my leadership style is I'll deal with the administrative part, but it really is the members of the Racial Equity Committee, in addition to staff who work here at the library who have advocated and move us forward as an organization. So I definitely want to give them a huge shout out, because without them, I can't do this work alone.
Thank you very much, Maria and Naomi, for your leadership and your work on this front. And to your point, thank you to the rest of the staff and the team for driving the work forward.
Thank you.
Let's now move to item number 4, which is the discussion on the city librarian's report. So at this point, I'll turn the meeting over again to City Librarian Michael Lambert.
Thank you, Vice President Huang. And we have a number of reports this evening. I'm pleased to introduce our first presenter, Julianne Randolph, our small business librarian in the Business, Science, and Technology Department. And she's going to tell us about Small Business Week that just happened last month.
Thank you, City Librarian Michael Lambert, and good afternoon, Commissioners. It's good to see you again. My name is Julianne Randolph, and I am the Small Business Librarian in the Business Science and Technology Center here at the main library. I've been in the department for just under a year. I started in August 2023. I am excited to share last month's Small Business Week with you. This year marked San Francisco's 20th annual Small Business Week. This celebration honors small businesses and recognizes their impact on San Francisco's culture and economic landscape. These events, workshops, and networking opportunities provide local entrepreneurs an opportunity to connect, learn, and thrive. The planning behind Small Business Week is a collaborative effort. The Chamber of Commerce leads the way, but the collective work of more than 30 community organizations brings the week to life. This year featured 28 events, 7 hosted in partnership with the library. The library's programs had a combined attendance of 283 people. Under Leah Hillman's leadership, the Business Science and Technology Center has long offered outstanding small business programs. Building on the infrastructure that Leah has put in place, this was the library's 3rd year participating in Small Business Week and our 1st year serving on the Chamber of Commerce Small Business Week Planning Committee. The library's programming featured 2 in-person events and 5 virtual workshops. We hosted an in-person networking event in partnership with the Renaissance Entrepreneurship Center, providing entrepreneurs a thoughtful opportunity to connect. We featured the Office of Small Business, who presented on how to start a business in San Francisco. We worked with the Treasurer and Tax Collector's Office to highlight First Year Free, a city initiative that supports new small businesses opening storefronts. The San Francisco Small Business Development Center worked with us to host Small Business Office Hours, an opportunity for business owners to receive individual guidance from an experienced business consultant. We also worked with a longtime Business Science and Technology Center presenter, Heather Liston, CFP, who presented Financial Tips for the Newly Self-Employed, a valuable program for solopreneurs. The main library welcomed Into Action to present on their impressive support programs for Black and Brown entrepreneurs in San Francisco. To close the week, we highlighted one of our subscription databases, Data Axle Reference Solutions, focusing on their direct marketing tools to help businesses expand. We are grateful for the Business Science and Technology Center's strong partnerships, which made this week a success. From our year-round partners, the San Francisco Small Business Development Center and the Office of Small Business, to new collaborations, such as that with Into Action. This programming would not have been possible without the invaluable support of the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library. I also want to highlight the work of our public affairs team. Their efforts in engaging with patrons on our social media platforms were instrumental to the week's success. I want to take a moment to highlight the importance of in-person programming. This was the first year that we incorporated in-person programming as part of our Small Business Week offerings. Here we see that 44 entrepreneurs gathered at the main library for our networking event, Coffee and Community. And those that gathered here heard the business journey of Wendy Liu from Sokola Chocolatier, who specializes in making chocolate inspired by her Vietnamese heritage. The main library also welcomed Into Action to our physical space. And here you can read some of our feedback from program attendees, speaking to the value and impact of the week. Small Business Week is an opportunity for the Business Science and Technology Center to highlight our small business offerings to entrepreneurs and community partners, and to celebrate the diversity and resilience of San Francisco's small business community. The week offers just a sampling of the programs for entrepreneurs and small business owners that the Business Science and Technology Center hosts year-round. From programs highlighting small business owners in San Francisco and their inspiring journeys, to digital marketing and business planning workshops, Our center supports and empowers the San Francisco small business community throughout the year. Thank you. And now I will pass it to our esteemed colleagues in the bridge.
Thank you, Julianne. That was a wonderful example of how the library is supporting our economic recovery. And our next presenter is Maricela Leon Barrera, our Digital Equity Manager, and she has a report on Tech Week, which is our annual opportunity to spotlight digital inclusion and the fact that the digital divide still very much exists in San Francisco.
Thank you. So as Michael said, my name is Maricela Leon Barrera, and I'm the Digital Equity Manager at the Bridge at Main. I have been in this role since the beginning of the year, and I'm really happy to be able to share Tech Week with all of you. You all have the Tech Week brochure so that you can also browse some of the programs that we had during this time. Tech Week ran between May 11th and through the 18th. And during that week, we had 44 programs with 18 community partners. We also had involved 6 of our library locations to serve 834 patrons. So what this kind of type of event does is that it helps bring together a lot of partners, and including our own staff. Because we believe that language access is an important aspect of the programming that we provide. As we saw in the earlier presentation, 10 of our programs were in Chinese, mostly Cantonese, and 7 in Spanish, because we want to make sure that we have opportunities for our English second language patrons to be able to participate in something like Tech Week. Tech Week is really, in its spirit, a type of conference, but a conference for the public, a conference where they do not have to pay for anything, but they can come and learn something new and be able to explore interests that they may have and ask questions that they may not have an opportunity to ask otherwise. During Tech Week, one of our signature kind of offerings is that we partner with agencies and our partners, in this case Tech Exchange, to provide free devices for patrons who may not have a device to be able to use to connect to the internet and learn. Something else we provide is the opportunity to use something special, such as a 3D printer. And you see here we have the printing of some Totoros, a very popular program during Tech Week, but also a very popular program that we offer on a regular basis at the Bridge. Oops, there we go. I'm having a hard time driving this thing. All right. So some of the objectives that I want to highlight about why we do Tech Week is, I mentioned, to bring the opportunity to explore something new, to increase the knowledge of AI, artificial intelligence, and fraud prevention this time around, to see tech as something that people can enjoy and can enhance their lives, and to also be able to connect with tech help. Those objectives are very big, and we can't do this alone. And so what you see here are the many partners that take part in helping us be able to meet those objectives. The key piece of Tech Week has always been its partners, and each one brings something unique and different. Am I pushing the wrong button? Oh, here we go. But along with this is also the ability to be able to partner within. So in this slide, you see how many of our SFPL staff is involved in being able to bring you Tech Week. And also, it's not just the Bridge staff, though the Bridge staff is, amazing, but so many other departments take part into making this happen. So now I want to highlight some of the actual programs that happened during Tech Week. So one of the very special programs we offered this time around is a digital lab for music production with SF Jazz. And this program was so well received by our adult patrons, many of whom are really wanting an opportunity to be able to create their own music, learn about how to create music. And so this was something that the participants in this program we're really thrilled, and we hope that this will be the beginning of being able to offer more opportunities like this. We also had a couple of agencies come and talk to our patrons about low-cost internet options, because that continues to be something that is impacting our community. You know, being able to be connected, you know, we do a great job at the library by providing those connections, but people want to be able to connect from home. So that's something that we are always seeking out partners who are able to present on that. Another special thing was being able to learn how to program a robot arm. And this robot arm was actually in Copenhagen. We were in San Francisco. Their team was in Japan attending a conference. And it just shows how that digital connection of being able to do this online, we're able to do a lot. And so patrons who attended that program were just thrilled. You see that in the middle picture here. They were able to control an arm and learn a little bit about programming and what that takes. And then we see the little hands here. They are creating a small robot that will be able to roll on a track. And so there were volunteers that came as part of the Super Tech partnership, and they were teaching students how to make the little robot and then be able to program it to move around. The other thing that we decided to do with this particular Tech Week is to demystify a little bit the curiosity around artificial intelligence and the impact that it's having right now. So one of the guest speakers that we invited from the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation came and spoke about AI scams and how to be cautious with crypto. Both things that are really a lot of our patrons, many of whom are seniors, are really curious about and don't know where to find that information. So this gentleman came out all the way from Sacramento to come and talk about what that is and how to be aware of how to identify when it's AI or what is crypto. The other really kind of fun program we had was we had the author presentation of Chris Atequeca, who's the author along with Scott Mauvais, who spoke about the unintended consequences of technology and what is the impact of that as we continue to digitize our lives, and what are some of those things that we may not think about as this kind of technology keeps moving forward. One of our key partners was Community Living Campaign, and the way that I really look at Community Living Campaign is that they provide opportunities to engage with technology in a very fun way, but also in a very safe way. So they provided some programs that were about how to stay safe online, but also some photo walks that included Golden Gate Park for our Cantonese-speaking patrons and the Mission for those who spoke in Spanish. These programs were offered in those languages to be able to provide access and provide an opportunity to enjoy tech, but the tech that you have right in your hand. And so something that you might have at your desk right now are some screen cleaners. These were part of our Tech Week giveaways so that people could keep their phone screens clean, because one of the things we notice, especially when we're doing tech help on our tech drop-in, is that, one of the first things we can do is give people a little clean on their phones, and even with just that touch, they see that they can see the phone so much clearer. And so one of the other things that you see here is the scanning of precious memories and photos. So Community Living Campaigns opened their offices to allow patrons to come in with their photos to be able to scan those and preserve them. And another thing here is we see some happy patrons. A patron that received their computer at one of the raffles during the digital bingo. A patron who came to pick up their Totoro. And you see here VR. So one of the things that we also had at this Tech Week, an idea from the Bridge staff, was to provide a virtual reality happy hour, because a lot of people have not yet had the opportunity to try one of those VR headsets. So we wanted to make sure that they did have that opportunity. And one of our staff shared this lovely story about how there was this family that was actually here for a graduation to celebrate their son, and they had decided to make the main library one of their destinations on their 30-day tour of California. And it so happened that the day they came, the whole family got to try out the VR headset. So the library is not only a place where we can learn, but it can really be a destination. And I look forward to bringing you more Tech Week. Tech does not just happen in 1 week. It is always the opportunities that we have throughout that make the difference for our patrons. And so, you might hear some murmurs of a Tech Week in the fall this year, because our partners are so wonderful and they're all in, and so are we. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Maricela. All right, our closer this evening is Ileana Poulou, and we have really a twofer right now. We have an exciting announcement. Ileana Poulou has accepted an opportunity to be our acting youth services manager with system-wide oversight of youth services programming and outreach. So thank you for stepping up, Ileana, and in her new capacity, she is going to present this report on Summer Stride, our signature summer learning program.
Thank you so much, Michael. Good evening, commissioners. I am looking forward to doing this preview of Summer Stride. You always hear about summer in August or September or October, and I'm excited to bring it to you in June because it's actually happening right now. We are literacy champions at the library. We are cultural amplifiers at the library, and that happens in the summer too. So let me go ahead and get over to our first slide. I wanted to set the stage. This is something that our youth librarians are very, very well centered in, and this is something that we share with all of our staff and our volunteers who focus on the summer. The faucet theory is an educational theory that suggests that during the school year, public schooling provides a flow of resources to students, such as teachers, educators, books, meals, and organized activities that help them learn and grow, be social, and happy. However, when school is out of session, that flow of resources can slow or stop for some students, especially those in lower income backgrounds. Summer camps are expensive, and there are not a lot of free options that offer fantastic programming, but the library is one of those. Unfortunately, the faucet theory turns into summer learning loss, also known as the summer slide. You may have heard of that. And that can hinder their progress when they return to school in the fall or later in life when they're entering high school or going on to whatever their next career or path or job is going to be. So that's where Summer Stride comes in. Summer Stride can contribute significantly to young people's health, social, emotional well-being, and learning. Our activities and programs are free, safe, educational, and fun. Library programs encourage parents or caregivers to play greater roles in their child's literacy development, and children who read for fun will become lifelong learners. They may take a pause at some point, but they will come back, and they may outperform other children who do not have that fun, joyful learning in school. We also recommend reading lists along with additional copies in our collection of titles curated by our San Francisco Unified School District teacher librarians, along with our children and teen book selectors from the San Francisco Public Library. These are all mailed directly to the SFUSD students, and they're placed on the backside of the tracker, which each of you have, for anyone who comes in as a reference when they visit the library to pick them up. Summer Stride is an all-ages program. I know I focused a lot on children because I want to set the stage, but I also want to encourage that any age can participate in Summer Stride. We kick off June 1st and we go through September 1st this year. Our goal is to spend 20 hours reading, learning, listening, and visiting the library. All those different options count towards the goal and increase accessibility for the different types of ways folks take in information. Participants can use the beautiful tracker, like I mentioned, that you all have one, or the application Beanstack if they choose. We have added a couple of items to respond to and increase engagement. We've introduced a bingo board for adult teen participants. You also have a copy of that with our adult teen guide. And those are for folks interested in a different kind of challenge. Who doesn't love bingo, right? Different kind of bingo. Bingo squares can include read a book set in San Francisco, or attend an author talk, or check out one of our other resources that the library can provide. The second piece that we're piloting this year is a zipper pouch as a final prize item. Participants who complete their 20 hours have the option of choosing between the tried and true tote bag that I see Commissioner Ono brought from last year, or the zipper pouch while supplies last, of course. They are hot commodities. You cannot buy them. You have to earn them. All of us have to earn them. These are some images of the tracker, bingo card, and summer stride guide for the adults and teens that feature summer reads, on the same page book events, and teen-specific programs. And it wouldn't be summer without the beautiful art. You'll see these posters on Muni bus shelters, inside Muni buses, on the bus cards when you're riding Muni, featured on library banners and throughout the city. These are images of the tote bag, zipper pouch, the feature sticker, and notebooks for youth outreach. And I just wanted to take a moment to say we're in the Correct Auditorium right now with 10 years of partnership with all of the different artwork. And it is beautiful to see. So thank you to our exhibits folks and our PR folks to show what 10 years of this partnership with Chronicle has given us and our community. This year, our illustrator behind our exquisite images is Sandy Santamaria. Sandy is an illustrator, designer, and children's book author from San Diego, currently based in the Bay Area. She has been a dream to work with. I hosted her on Tuesday as we did our Yell orientation with over 45 teen interns. Here she is in a class visit with the Mission Branch and a local elementary school in the Mission, reading her title, Yanebi's Drive to School, the inspiration for the artwork this year. Sandy has been participating in public programs, and I invite you all to go to the second floor mezzanine to see her exhibit right outside the Children's Center. All of our library locations are bustling with presenters, performers, workshops, and book clubs this summer that represent the Bay Area's unique cultural diversity and community. Both adult and youth services librarians have been answering the call for more in-person programming from the community, and you'll see that in a few slides. We've continued our commitment to offering STEM challenges for youth at our locations, according to the National Summer Learning Association, by ensuring that STEM summer programs are hands-on, rigorous, and fun. We foster students' natural curiosity and stimulate them to create their own questions and problems, in addition to solutions. And I really like that because they can be really focused on something, just getting it right, but it's the curiosity and the solution focus that really will help them in their future. We'll continue to display our collections, encourage checkouts, and offer free books for youth to build their home libraries. We have our leadership and workforce development opportunities. They're in full swing with Yell and the Summer Youth Volunteers. And thanks to our partners who are able to offer fantastic monthly raffles, and select locations are working with their communities for those national park shuttle field trips. All of these are free, and I just need to keep saying that because it's almost hard to believe that we can offer these many options. To the numbers. So this is a snapshot of our first week of numbers from June 1st to June 8th for both 2024, the current year, and 2023. The first 3 rows are specific to the Summer Stride signups and completions, and the bottom 2 rows are projections based on what we're doing right now and throughout the end of the summer, since we're going till September 1st. You'll see that I did the math for us, that we've increased in all of these categories, and for the first 3, we've doubled in at least one of them, and we've nearly doubled in the other 2. The projected rows of the programs and youth workforce development have also sustainably increased with the work of our staff. I can also share that our data as of earlier this afternoon, where we've passed the 10,000 sign-up mark, which is pretty amazing on the 20th of June, to be able to say that with both our individual sign-ups and group sign-ups. And over 1,000 participants have already finished. So you'll see about 800 totes or zipper pouches around town, or around the city. We're in the city. You'll see them around here, and 200 need to go pick up their totes or their bags or their pouches. Summer Stride is our biggest campaign of the year, and it is only possible with the hardworking staff and fantastic partners like the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ileana. And just as a testament to all the hardworking staff, all the partners, our Chief Analytics Officer, he was reviewing some data with the leadership team earlier this week, and we had our best weekly visitorship post-pandemic, not counting the week of Night of Ideas, that's an outlier, but this past week. So the community is really responding to all the programs and services that we're offering this summer. And that concludes the City Librarian's Report.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Julianne, Maricela, and Ileana for your wonderful work and your reports this evening. We're going to open public comment before commission discussion on this item. As a reminder, please do limit your public comment to this specific agenda item. Public comment is now open in the CRET for item number 4.
Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California 94117-0544. Thank you very much to the presenters, and I always like to hear what's cooking at the library. I did hear twice that you have material. Looked like you have the program for Tech Week and also something for Summer Stride. We did not get that with the agenda packet. It's not listed on the agenda, and there's nothing in the back that would enable somebody to follow along. So I'd like to request a copy of the Stride booklet that apparently you have, but the public does not have. I was thinking of Summer Slide, and I thought, well, slides are supposed to be fun. Maybe it could be called Summer Fog, and that's appropriate for San Francisco. In any case, I did want to talk with respect to Tech Week. I thought that the Tech Week was a slight improvement in respect to what it dealt with, including the downsides from previous years. Previous years actually were called Tech Connect. But I was rather disappointed. Most of the not very much dealt with, but still present downsides, basically talked about what individuals can do individually. As we always see at the library, watch out, don't write down your password and things like that. There was not talk in any consistent way of what other places have done, including Europe, with regulation, something the library and tech people generally don't want to talk about. For example, there was a program that I thought was very interesting, The Unintended Consequences of Technology, with author Chris Ategeka and Scott Mauvais. Well, the author's book wasn't even mentioned here. You didn't mention in your presentation that actually there were books given out at one or more of the presentations. And to talk about the unintended consequences of technology is to put the focus on the intentions of the creators and the sellers of this stuff, and not on what it's actually doing, which is extremely harmful. The Surgeon General has compared it to what the cigarette companies did and so on. Do we prejudge that what they do that's bad is unintended? That's a little bit prejudging. The publicity was a little hard to follow. I thought that there were a lot of programs, but it would have been useful to identify the themes that were presented more clearly.
Thank you. Further public comment on item 4 in the correct. Seeing that there's none, we're going to close public comment and move now to commission discussion. Commissioners. Any comment? Yeah. Commissioner Ono.
Sorry. Julianne.
Don't apologize.
Need
some tech recall.
I know. Julianne, thank you very much for the small business. We do need to keep more businesses in San Francisco, so I appreciate that. Marcella, I wanted to find out if you're doing any demographics on the number on who attended all the different events. You don't need to give it to me now, just for the future. You know, I wanted to know like age. You know, from the pictures, it looked like a lot of seniors. So I was just wondering what was the breakdown. Also, I appreciate that AT&T is finally being a sponsor because that was my old company. They what? Good, thank you. It's about time. No. I know.
They did.
So they, what kind of program?
They provided a program showing the digital learn online learning modules. So anybody can go and learn about Google Docs, Word, Microsoft, Internet basics. It's a free service that they're providing, and there was a person who came to demonstrate it and also encourage people to use it as to be able to build their skills.
Thank you. And then Ileana, amazing results so far. Keep it up. So thank you.
Commissioner Lomax-Garrett.
I just want to say that the summer stride is just lovely. Thank you for giving us those early stats, hearing about the community's response the first week of June. I can't wait to see how the stats continue to go strong through the summer, and I can't wait to see how many children, youth, adults, and families are engaged. So thank you so much.
I'll just add to that. This is, again, one of the our favorite parts of every commission meeting. So thank you so much for your work and leading your respective programs and for the wonderful reports on the progress. This really does feel like a moment where we're bringing such a wide range of opportunities and resources to so many groups of people in the city and county of San Francisco and beyond. So again, thank you so much for your leadership. We're going to turn now to item number 5 this evening, which is adjournment. Before we move to commission discussion potential action, we're going to open public comment. And as a reminder, please, again, do limit your public comment to this specific agenda item. Public comment is now open in the Correct.
Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. I've said it before, I say it again. I don't think you should adjourn unless you insist to put on future agendas an item that says what you want to have on future agendas, as you used to do, and as many other agencies do as well. There were quite a few interesting questions and comments from the Commission today about the reports, and I think that some of those questions would be worth having an item on an agenda that answers those questions. In the past, you've said you would, but then didn't follow through very much, if at all. You said you would have questions in bold in the minutes, and I think that mentally or otherwise you can have your questions in mind and maybe have a session for follow-up on questions and comments that you've had, and maybe that the public had from prior meetings or the prior meeting at a future meeting, just as an example. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Further public comment? Seeing that there's none, public comment is now closed, and we're going to move to commission discussion and action on item number 5. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I make the motion to adjourn today's meeting.
A second, please.
I second it.
We have a motion from Commissioner Lopez and a second from Commissioner Lomax-Giarduzzi to adjourn the meeting.
And I'll take the roll call. Commissioners, please say aye or no when I call your name. Vice President Wong.
Aye.
Commissioner Ono.
Aye.
Commissioner Mall.
Aye.
Commissioner Lomax-Giarduzzi.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Commissioner Bolander.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining the meeting today.